Hey, this is BA and welcome to WD Gann, the tunnel through the air. This is part one of what's going to be a three-part series. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that for me anyway, I believe Tunnel is the most valuable book ever written on financial markets by far, okay? So let's start getting into this. This trilogy is dedicated to the true seeker, the wiser one who seeks out the truth. I began my romance with W.D. Gann's book, The Tunnel Through the Air, when I received my first copy on April 3rd, 1997. Since that time, in many hours of study, my understanding and respect of the book has dramatically increased. I hold out that this book is by far the best book ever written on financial markets. I would like to share with you in the following three-part presentation some valuable discoveries and pointers dealing with this book. And it may not be as sexy as looking at market charts, but studying this book in great detail leads to understanding and knowledge, which then leads to security. Let's begin. So yesterday I took a look at an email someone had gave me with the number 5 on it, sitting back and thinking, what could this mean? So many do in the beginning years with the Tunnel book, you just, what could this mean? What could this possibly be? Okay. What could that 5 mean? Well, here are some things it could be. I have 5 fingers on my hand. The 5th planet is Jupiter. I could go research the heck out of page 5. Divide price always by 5. 5, in fact, could be insignificant and Gann tricking me. Gann pointing me to the 5th of the month, 5 days. Gann needed filler for his book. Gann always traded in 5s. That was his secret. 5th wave of Elliot. 5 moons is 5 months. How would we know if any of this was correct? I mean, this is just mad thinking. Well, how do we know if it's incorrect? Working to prove one or many of these could quickly lead to frustration. Now, if that is the case, what the frustration is telling you is that you are on the wrong path. All of the above were random guesses. So heading down this path can quickly lead to frustration. Instead, there's an alternate path. Think of, how can I connect this to another part in the book? You see, this book is like a puzzle with the pieces needing to be put together. Okay? It's written in layers like an onion. So instead of just, tripping out, the number 5, my shoe size is 5, no. We have to get into this and we say, okay, I got a number here. What does it connect to? How's Gann using it? On what page is it? And we're going to learn these concepts coming up in this 3-part series. Here's our number 5 in a different way. On page 360, it states, she reminded him that 5 years ago he arrived in New York just after his birthday. Then of the birthday parties, etc. Okay. Clearly, he's connecting this to birthdays, which was not on our list of 10 above. Okay. Very important. So now it's being connected to birthdays, you see. Now we got something more than just this 5 out there. It's being connected. Rule. Keywords are used in this book. They are important and there are many of them. Some keywords, and these are just a few, are tell, talk, love, and sunshine. Okay. Get a notebook and make a separate page or 2 for each keyword. Write down everything that is said about the keyword along with the page numbers it's mentioned. Rule. There is a code hidden in the text, and there is also coding used in the page numbers. An example of this would be 224, which is the heliocentric cycle of Venus, where Robert's first airplane was completed. This is no coincidence. Be very aware of page numbers. Okay. Now, I got to add a caveat here because years ago, I knew a guy, his wife really didn't want him studying certain elements of Tunnel. So he was left with page number and he he was working all these page numbers. And he wrote me one day. It was the last time I ever heard of him. He said, B, I'm getting paranoid. This was like 15 years ago. He's like, I'm getting paranoid. Someone's going to find out what I'm onto. Well, no. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in page numbers, but he sent me some examples of the way he was using it. And it was just crazy, bizarre stuff. It was like our 5. What could we do with 5? You know what I mean? So be aware of that. One thing leads to another. It's written in layers like an onion. Rule: watch and note carefully any emphasis Gann puts on the words. Often to clue the reader in tunnel, Gann will repeat something, not exactly, but close, in order to emphasize its importance and help you focus in. In a previous slide, we saw the keyword birthday. So what we'd want to do next is do a study on that key word. Some pages of importance is page 157 and again on page 160, where he states, his 21st birthday meant a great deal to him, meant more than any other birthday because he hoped it would bring Marie. Okay. Well, you would think, well, that's filler of the book. That's nice. He wants you to have a good birthday party. No. That's not what's going on, you see. He wrote this book so the casual readers are left in the dust. They won't get nothing out of it, while the true seeker gets ahead, you see. Page 161, he goes on to actually subtitle a chapter on it. Robert Gordon's 21st birthday. Whoa, this is like massive emphasis on this. There's something happening here. Okay, well, what could it be? Well, we'd have to look for other clues in there, okay? That means something very important ties into this. Page 171 and 172 of Tunnel. And his own faith was in astrology and the science laid down in the Bible. With the science of astrology, he could tell when success would start, when trouble would end. He was a great believer in astrology because he had found the great science referred to so many times in the Holy Bible. My understanding here is that Gann was using something a little different than what the traditional astrologer of today uses. Okay? So there's this astrology out there, Venus and Jupiter equals love. And then there's market astrology, okay? And when it comes to market astrology, it's completely different than what you would think it is. My understanding is that it is more a fusion of astrology and astronomy that I call astrology, which is a fusion of the two. What Gann was using was your left hand is astrology, your right hand is astronomy. Bring them together. Astrology, that's what he was using, okay? Page 184, the Bible prophets foretold it. And my studies of the cycle theory also indicate that we are in a period where cycles will repeat, which have caused war in the past. This gives great insight into Gann. Not only does he again state cycles, he talks about them repeating, you see? Very important. That's really the key, man. I got an email from a guy today. He says, BA, I've been doing the geometry path for over a year and have had no success with it. Well, you think he's missing something here? Okay. Page 199. Again, days, weeks, and months had drifted slowly by, but no word from Marie Stanton. She seemed to be lost as though the earth had swallowed her up. To someone just starting out within the Gann field, I would assume this would appear nebulous. However, this sounds like it may be referencing to Heart of the Earth from an earlier page, and with the flashback about a paragraph above it on page 199, linking it to a cycle gives the air of a connection. Okay? You may want to have to pause this and read it yourself a few times to really understand it. This brings up an important point. The Bible will at times be talking of one thing, then kind of talk about another, then go back to the original, because it does, okay. This is also, as one may suspect, incorporated into the book Tunnel Through the Air. A glaring example of this is a lot of the poetry is done for spacing or to distance key parts. Like let's say he's giving you one part of something, I don't know, just make up a page, let's say 185. And then, so he's explaining it, and he says, well, this is too easy for him to find, so I want to break this up. So he writes the poetry and stuff, and he knows you're a market trader. You're going to be reading that stuff. It's going to put you to sleep. And then, page 195 as an example. Then he starts back in explaining the end of what he was explaining before, you see. That's called a bait and switch. He uses it, and the poetry is just one way. Listen to what he says here, as again, this provides deep insight in the Gann methodology and where it came from. Robert explained to Mr. Watson that he was not guessing and gambling on hope, but was following science and not trading on human judgment, as he followed the law of cycles as laid down in the Holy Bible. This again makes it clear that in order to truly get the Gann methodology working, one must have some sort of cycle. Okay? Cycle, cycle, cycle. Page 219. This area has confused many, but there are actually 2 steps to solving pages 218 and 220. First is locate the repeat of the cycle, and next is to understand the cycle itself. Now, generally, this is vice versa, but here Gann gives a clue to start it out. On page 220, he states, could repeat in 1928 are B, J, F, and L. Okay, in this step, look back through the American presidents whose last name begins with A, B, J, with a B, a J, an F, or an O, or an L. Keep in mind that Gann is trying to show us something here. A study of the years 1848 to 1869 shows the following presidents: Fillmore, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson. Okay. Note that this satisfies our B, J, F, and L. Okay. On pages 214 and 215, he's talking about astro, and he states, he read all the books he could get on astrology and began to understand why things had happened as they did. More from page 224. He had constructed a wheel within a wheel, cycle, so that he could lower his plane and land anywhere he chose and could rise straight up. He could drive his plane forwards or backwards. So in a spreadsheet with these cycles, you have to work it up and down as well as across. Okay. Page 224 continued. There was an extra motor with a collapsible propeller so that he could shift it from the center of the airplane to the tail. The key word here is collapsible. I took this to mean that sometimes you use it, sometimes you do not. Page 224. The wings were so arranged that they could either remain stationary or be set in motion up or down. The question here, sensibly, is what is set in motion that goes up and down? Pages 228 and 229. Robert and his mother flash back on pages 228 to 229. Okay? This is probably not a coincidence happening on his 22nd birthday. So although no date is mentioned, we can extrapolate it. June 9, 1928. And there's a lot of information here. You'd think that it's not significant. Robert Gordon's 22nd birthday is very significant. This concludes part 1. Look for parts 2 and 3. If you have gained insight from my videos, subscribe so you can get the latest on my free market calls, forecasts, commentary, and teachings. Hey, this is BA reminding you, you can succeed. Bye-bye.